Welcome to the Shyamcast. My name is Brett.
My name is Shyam. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for being here. So, where we left off last week was the middle of chapter one of Bhagavad Gita. We're doing our Bhagavad Gita series and going through the whole book, not verse by verse, but maybe you could say lesson by lesson, point by point. So, where we left off is where Arjuna and Krishna are just about to go to the middle of this battlefield. A little bit of summary. Maybe we have the two sides about to fight this battle at Kurukshetra. We have the Pandavas, which is Arjuna and his brothers, the sort of rightful heirs to this kingdom. And then on the other side, we have the Kauravas, led by the sons of the usurping king, Dhritarashtra, led by his eldest son, Duryodhana, who is the cousin of the Pandavas and has attempted to actually assassinate them at different points in this larger story. And so now we reach this point where war is inevitable. Arjuna and Krishna and everybody is they blow their conch shells as a kind of sort of a signal, they're sort of ready to begin fighting. And Arjuna has just asked Krishna to take him to the middle of this battlefield.
Mm,
So that's where we pick up.
mm, mm,
So the story continues. Krishna does take Arjuna to the middle of the battlefield.
mm.
And uh, should we read the line perhaps, Prabhuji, or the verse where it shows what he sees? What do you think?
Yeah, if you would like to.
Okay. Okay. So this is verse 26.
Mm,
It says, There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers.
mm. So there is one reason that actually everything happens by Krishna's inspiration. And Krishna actually wanted Arjuna to become bewildered.
Hmm.
And when you are far away, you cannot really see clearly. You see it's a huge battlefield and the distance is very far. So Arjuna gets a desire that I want to see whom I'm going to fight. So two lessons comes from there. One is um, we should have an idea of what we are getting into before we get into something. So that is mode of goodness. Mode of passion is get into something and then why did I get into this? Or how do I get out or how do we manage that? Like not prepared. So Arjuna is in mode of goodness. So he wants to see what he is going to enter. Another way to say that is like Srila Prabhupada mentions, he want to um, judge um, the strength of the other side
Hmm.
so he can prepare himself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is external reason. Internal reason is Krishna knew if he sees those whom he really loves, then he will become weak. And then Krishna wanted to take this opportunity to speak Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also very interesting that this is going on for a while. It's not that they are seeing themselves in a war for years. And now this is the D Day. And he knows very well whom he is going to fight. And he is prepared. The conch shell is blown. And Krishna also blew his conch shell, means he is ready. He is ready to fight. But still, Krishna didn't want this to happen right away.
So
That's
this
why.
is yeah, this is like the reason behind why Bhagavad Gita is happening, like how
Uh,
the like the play aspect of it, sort of
mm,
like everybody is sort of playing in this role.
yeah.
Um, so that was a question that I knew that I had for you, Sham, that I think is a question that would come up, like um does Arjuna not really know who's on the other side,
Mm,
it's almost like a strange thing that he's asking to to
mm,
do that, like that he's
mm,
asking Krishna to take him to the in between the armies so that he can see everybody. It's kind of like don't you he already knows who he's going to be
mm,
fighting against, right?
mm, mm, mm. There is another deeper meaning on the same line, like for a common people. um, they are really doing things, but they don't know what is the purpose behind what they are doing. And they don't know what to do with what they achieve. They don't know what the purpose is. And that's why it's sometimes important to take time off and to really reflect and contemplate what is the purpose. So many people, some are very successful, some are struggling to be successful, some are more like in the very beginning and don't know what the life is about, why this life, and everyone is going with the flow. Like they have a particular desire, maybe for a business, maybe make it successful and keep running. I need to achieve, and then after they achieve, then they will like, now what do I do with what I achieve? And there is no direction. Then help poor people, which is also good, and they try to do something good to the society, but the real purpose is missed. And the real purpose is told by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna wanted to take this opportunity to speak about the real purpose of life, which is not the fighting. If you see, Duryodhana is in his war. Arjuna has his own reasons why he doesn't want to fight and everything. And in that, while everything is, like everyone is busy with their thought process. And Krishna breaks in between and says, "Hey Arjuna, what is the purpose?"
Uh,
And introduces
wow.
a transcendental message there.
That's really beautiful. That's really nice.
Mm,
Yeah. And super, I mean, without stating the obvious, I just really nice lessons there too that you're pointing out. I mean, knowing what you're getting into and knowing why, I mean,
mm,
which it seems very simple, straightforward, and obvious.
uh,
But a lot of us, I know for myself, a lot of the times when I do things, I don't exactly have like the real reason why in my mind.
mm,
Maybe it is just I want to accomplish something, and then
mm,
if I do, I don't know what to do with it.
mm,
Maybe it's just that, oh, I just want to feel some sort of pleasure in some way, you
mm,
know.
mm,
Um, so that's why I do the thing.
mm,
Um, and I suppose maybe I think this is addressed a little bit later in this first chapter too, but all of the family members that Arjuna sees who are on the other side, maybe
mm,
they're in a similar kind of position.
mm,
I mean, yeah, like you said, everybody has their own reason for doing
mm,
what they're doing or for fighting in this fight on whichever side. Some people it's they're honor bound to fight on one side or the other. They have certain pacts with people. There's political arrangements. There's different things like that.
mm.
Um, but the real reason why anybody's doing
Right.
anything is not exactly clear.
Sometimes we meet people and then we say, we should try to find out what's the purpose of our life. At the end, they come and they say, so what is the purpose of our life? So if we see most people, common people, they don't know what's the purpose of life. Even a businessman, if you ask him, he wants his business to be successful. But if you ask him, is this the purpose of your life to make your business successful? I don't think so. I just want to make this. Nobody agrees to what they are doing as the purpose of their life. And Krishna introduces that, hey Arjuna, what's the goal? It's the real goal and how to attain that real goal amidst everything that you are doing. And that is bhakti yoga and that is love of God.
Yeah. And so in order to get to that point where Krishna can start teaching the lesson to Arjuna,
Mm,
we have to get to this where we're starting in the first chapter, which
mm,
is where Arjuna is becoming bewildered.
mm,
Um, the next few lines after this, he sees his family and he has, I guess, what we might call a freak out
mm, mm,
like it's like he kind of knew who he was fighting against anyway, but when he actually sees all these people, and it's kind of amazing, it's like sons, grands, Arjuna is apparently a grandfather. I'm not sure how old Arjuna is actually during this, but he's got a lot of, there's many generations of family. There's cousins and
Mm,
friends. Obviously it's a very big family. It's a dynasty. And so
mm,
there's just as many people on his side as well. But they're all just kind of there and they're going to be fighting against each other for whatever reason. So,
mm.
um, do you mind if I just read like a little bit of the description
Yeah,
of
please go ahead, bro.
Arjuna's reaction? So once he sees all of these people, he says to Krishna, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, and my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna." Um, yeah, that's his reaction when he sees it.
Mm.
And
So Arjuna is, go ahead.
or yeah, just one other thing I'll mention briefly, Prabhuji, before you go. Um, one of the verse before this reaction, it says he becomes overwhelmed with compassion. So
Mm,
he sees all these people, he
mm,
feels overwhelmed, and the reason for his feeling overwhelmed and bewildered is he feels compassion for the
mm,
people on the other side.
mm. So there is one point on this compassion. Arjuna doesn't see fault in Duryodhan and others. This is very difficult, especially if somebody misbehave with us or say something or does something that we don't want, or in whichever way, or speak harshly or whatever. To be their well-wisher at that point of time, usually mind becomes disturbed when we are on mental level, and a disturbed mind doesn't want their doesn't want to become their well-wisher. The well-wishing mind wants to take revenge. And if the revenge is not physically, at least in the mind wants, I don't want them to be successful in them, or, I don't want their welfare or reaction should come upon them, or this is a disturbed mind. But we see that Arjuna's mind is very stable. A stable mind um, remains their well-wisher, still wants their welfare in, independent of how they behave.
Mm.
So
Yeah, he
Prabhupada says,
still loves them. Yeah.
still loves them. And Prabhupada says, that's Arjuna's pure heart. So you see, there is a contradiction. The contradiction is Krishna condemns and Prabhupada glorifies.
Mm. Can you say that again? So Krishna condemns, you said, and
Condemns,
Prabhu.
Prabhupada glorifies.
Mhm.
This is because Arjuna is a pure devotee. That's why he has those feelings for them. And still Krishna condemns. And both is right.
Mm. So what do you mean by that? Why is it? So it's right for Krishna to condemn the other side of this battle,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Because it's based on bodily attachment, family affection. And because of that reason, there is a disregard of dharma, of because they are aggressors.
Okay. Sorry. I think I was just misunderstanding. So you're saying Krishna is condemning Arjuna's reaction ultimately, right? He's
Yes.
saying like Arjuna, you're not behaving correctly when you're having this reaction where he's saying basically, I don't want
Showing
to fight.
compassion.
Okay, yeah. But Prabhupada in the commentary is saying this is actually a great quality of Arjuna's because he's a devotee. He
Pure heart.
never had any negative feelings towards anybody, even though they were on the other side trying to
Yeah.
kill him in this
Yeah.
battle.
So
Okay.
both are correct.
Hmm.
That's why I just said that all contradictions merge in Krishna consciousness. It is right and wrong simultaneously.
Hmm.
It's just from different perspective. One perspective is pure heart. So even if the other person misbehaves, you are still their well-wisher. Another perspective is It is still based on bodily affection, and there is a rejection of dharma because of overwhelmed by emotions. Because like I'm very affectionate to this person, that's why I want him to win. I don't want to kill him, and that person is going to destroy the world.
Hmm.
Duryodhana. So
Yeah, so
there's
we can't let our affections get in the way of the greater welfare. Yeah.
uh, so see there is simultaneously contradiction, no contradiction.
Yeah, it's a very, I mean, it's a difficult, it's obviously the whole point is that it's an extremely difficult decision, for Arjuna to make. Um, One thing that I know it almost seems like, I guess if you're talking about somebody who's of a very high stature, spiritual status, such as
Mm,
Arjuna,
mm,
um, the fact that he's not scared for his own welfare, it's sort of, I at least notice that as well and go, well, he's not even when he feels overwhelmed seeing everybody who wants to fight it against him and they're blowing their conch shells and everyone's very angry, they're sort of getting into that fighting spirit, as he says. He's not afraid of losing. He's not afraid of dying.
mm,
Um, I
mm,
know we talked about last time a lot of that. Well, I think he is just first of all a warrior in spirit. That's his what his
mm,
personality is like. This is going to
mm,
be part of Krishna's lesson later on as well.
mm,
You have to fight because this is what you do. Um, but he also has Krishna on his side, and so he knows that he doesn't have anything to worry about in the long run.
mm, mm,
Um, so he's not afraid for himself, and I guess I just noticed as well he doesn't even feel like betrayed. I think that was
mm,
one of the
mm,
the words that came up to me or in my mind if I were to look out on a battlefield and see like half the people of my family are going to be fighting against me. Um, I would feel betrayed by them. There's maybe that's a very natural response or could be. And so he doesn't feel any of that. It's
mm,
simply compassion for them. He understands that they're not there, there is a good and a bad side in this story and in this battle.
mm, mm,
There is a right and a wrong.
mm,
I think the larger story of the Mahabharata, it makes it very clear,
mm.
that there are these, basically like a
Yeah.
good and an evil side here. And he feels compassion for them because they're not on the right side
Mm,
and that he's, afraid for their lives, their well-being. Like you say,
mm,
he's still their well-wisher.
mm, mm,
Um, which is pretty amazing. That word compassion, which is used, is really, really significant because there's a lot of things that could potentially be put down there. He
mm,
felt blank, and if
mm,
that fill in the blank is compassionate,
mm,
it really means a lot.
mm. Prabhupada also brings up the point of aggressors. So sometimes we feel like in spiritual life, violence is not good. In spiritual life, anger is not good. If somebody is becoming angry, means they are not spiritually advanced. So there are some misconceptions like that. Saint means he sit like this and forever and but we don't see that in Hanuman. We don't see that in many examples. Correct? And so Prabhupada brings up the point of aggressor. Prabhupada says aggressors are those aggressors, even if they are killed, there is no reaction. And among them, Prabhupada says aggressors are like those who disrespect your wife, those who burn your house, those who steal your wealth. So they're like aggressors. And then to protect that, even if you have to kill them, there is no reaction.
Mhm.
And Arjuna is trying to be like, doesn't want, and Krishna is telling, no, this is where you should fight. Some people have this misconception, why is Krishna making Arjuna fight a battlefield when he is God? Why does he want his own children who are all his part and parcel to fight? So that's a general misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think that's a really big question, definitely
Mm,
that comes up,
mm,
especially, like you say, I mean, nonviolence is a big part of spiritual life. I think that that's definitely true, right? It's not
Mm,
like we're saying that that's not true. I think it
mm,
you start learning about any tradition and being peaceful and being nonviolent are pretty essential
mm,
parts.
mm,
Um, even to the extent it's like not eating meat in many traditions, not
exactly.
not killing or sort of even sort of participating in the killing of
Mm,
different kinds of life.
mm,
Um, but at the same time, there's another phrase that Prabhupada uses a lot: time, place, and circumstances.
mm, mm,
And so we we find ourselves in different time, place, and circumstances. We just are right here, and we have to make the best decision that's possible
mm,
right now.
mm,
And again, the whole story of the Mahabharata makes it very clear the Pandavas do not want this war to happen. They try
mm,
their best. A lot of people try their best
mm,
not to make it, to make sure that it doesn't come to a war, but eventually it simply does. And
mm,
they're just in this position. They have to do it.
mm,
And, Arjuna can't control which side anybody else took. All he can do is control what he does right now as he finds himself,
mm,
in this battlefield.
mm,
I mean, I guess it's also a different, it's like a time when he is a part of the warrior class.
mm,
So this is what he does. This is like his occupation. He's a
mm,
leader and he's a warrior.
mm.
Um, and so anyway, yeah, I think that there's probably a big question that comes up from Western audiences, like, why is the whole thing's about how he actually should fight? It seems it's a little confusing, I guess. It's like, but
Sometimes, go
oh yeah,
ahead.
sorry. Well, just thinking, I know. Well, just the only thing I'll say is Arjuna actually presents that argument pretty perfectly in this first
Mm,
chapter, and I think a little bit in the second as well.
mm,
Um,
mm,
it sort of gives voice to what many readers might think. It's sort of like, why is he actually supposed to fight? What would the reason? And he gives us some very good reasons why he
mm,
should not fight in this battle, why he really doesn't want to.
mm,
And so that's how it starts, and then the Bhagavad Gita like really starts where Krishna begins speaking and
mm,
explaining why he should
mm,
fight, and then about obviously a lot more.
mm. So I like the point that spiritual life is non-violence. One of the quality of a devotee is non-violence. But then what if the violence leads to non-violence and non-violence leads to violence?
Yeah.
है ना?
Like if they did not fight in this battle, it would lead to a lot greater
Violence
violence.
for the whole world.
Hmm.
But if they do this violence, it will bring the whole world into non-violence. So that's why spirituality is above that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
And
think I think
sometimes
that's or sorry, Prabhu. No, go ahead.
sometimes attachment to our principle of non-violence itself goes against dharma.
Mm. Can you think of an example? Well, I guess this is the example. Can you think of any other examples? Um, I mean, maybe like different times of war. Um, might
Yeah.
be an example, like in World War II, as an example. There
That's
were
all nowhere compared to Mahabharat war. That's all ego fights. So all the violence we see, cannot be a justification for why Arjuna was fighting. And
Mm,
if we see those fight and this fight on the same level, then we'll become confused. Then we'll
mm,
question because we know this is wrong. And then if you bring that to Mahabharat, then we'll think that this is also wrong. Why is Krishna supporting the wrong side? Then they're just not understanding the context properly.
mm. Sure. But yeah, just any situation basically where there's an evil force that won't stop unless somebody stops it,
Hmm. For example,
right?
cops.
Hmm.
You see somebody who is like, suppose somebody, there's a 9/11 crash. You find that somebody, okay, this is the person who was involved. And you are like, no, no, I'm non-violent, let him do what he likes. And have like another 10 9/11 crashes and I'm fine with it, but non-violence, that's actually violence.
Mm. Hmm.
You know? So there, if you put your, like, if you show non-violence there, it's going against dharma. And that's exactly what is happening in Mahabharata.
Mm.
Unlike the world war which is going on now, which is just ego fight between the political leaders.
Mm. So, yeah, you know what that makes me, I guess, just think of, Prabhuji, is it exemplifies why it's a very difficult decision for Arjuna because
Mm, mm,
it's the it's ultimately the right thing to do
mm,
is to fight in this battle.
mm.
But he looks out at this field, he sees all of these friends and relatives, and he very understandably doesn't want to.
Mm.
Um, and I was wondering, would you want to go over some of the reasons that he lists for not wanting to fight? He comes up with, I
Fight.
guess,
Yeah.
some maybe like four main topics. Like this is really why I don't think we should do this.
Yeah. So four topics are discussed. The first topic is, as we discuss compassion. And then should we go over how Krishna refutes how those are not good reasons now, as we discuss the reason and say how this was not a good reason, so that there is a context, because when we go in the second chapter we may lose the context of how Krishna refutes those reasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, second chapter really gets into the spiritual teaching.
Spiritual teachings,
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah.
So how Krishna refutes compassion. There's one reason. You know, how can I fight my own grandfather, my own teacher who are worthy of my worship? So many soldiers. How? What about, compassion for them? You know? So how does Krishna refute it? Krishna refutes it by saying that this is not actually compassion, but this is weakness of your heart. Because then Krishna subtly asked this question: where was your compassion? Is this your first battle that you're fighting? You
Mhm.
have fought so many battles. Where was your compassion then? So actually, the compassion that Arjuna is feeling is arising because of the loving affection. I mean, it's very obvious. For example, a cop has to kill somebody because he's an aggressor. No problem. But if somebody who is an aggressor, suppose is his own wife, then
Yeah, a
it
lot
will be
harder.
like, no, I can't do it. That's exactly what is happening with Arjuna. But there, it's the affection which is coming on the way, and the real reason is only used as a tool to convince Krishna. And sometimes our mind convinces us how I am right. And we uses the scriptures, we uses principles, right principles, to convince ourselves this is the right thing to do. Basically, we use knowledge as a clutcher to do our means. And we don't even realize how we become political in our own mind.
Mm.
And actually we cheat ourselves and we don't realize we are cheating ourselves. And Krishna calls it, this is weakness of your heart, Arjuna. Another thing is, what we don't understand about ourselves, Guru and Krishna understands that about us. Arjuna was fully convinced. See, compassion is, if any common man, you say there is a fight, and you say, no, 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 let them do harm. I'm okay to suffer the reaction. Let them be good. And what about love for all living entities? I should be. Any common man will agree to it. But Krishna and Guru goes many levels in depth.
Mm.
That's why it is
Yeah.
very easy to be um, unclear about what is right and what is wrong in different situations, like here Arjuna in that case. And that's why we see in second chapter Krishna says we need a spiritual master to help us who can discern clearly.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that really does, it goes so deep. It's like I think I can definitely relate to when you're talking about we convince ourselves of different things,
uh,
especially if we have a strong emotional reaction to something.
yeah.
I think that maybe sometimes we have a tendency to think that our emotions are always right or to always really trust
uh,
whatever that emotion is,
uh,
um, in
uh,
such a way that we think this emotion is really going to lead me to all the right decisions because it's so
mm,
strong. If it's so
mm,
strong, it must be almost kind of sort of perfect in this way. It must be a good guide. It must be the thing that I really should be listening to.
mm,
And a big theme of spiritual life, certainly of Bhagavad Gita, is detachment,
mm,
and which is really not it's not an impersonal thing at all. It's actually
mm,
quite
mm,
a personal thing.
mm,
Um, but maybe it feels that way, in the beginning when you hear about it,
mm,
because like we've been talking about, you have to see the greater context of the
mm,
situation you're in, what's going on.
mm,
Arjuna has to see the greater context. This
mm,
isn't just he's fighting his family in a war. That's what
mm,
he's sort of the level that he's at right now.
mm, mm,
And Krishna is going to bring it up to, many different levels and say this is, you need to see the wider picture, what the real truth is.
mm,
And if you become a little bit detached from these very, very strong emotions that are
mm,
going on in you right now, you'll see things more clearly for what they really
mm,
are.
mm,
And then you'll be at peace with whatever it is that you have to do.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Another point I was also thinking with respect to our current topic of compassion itself is Arjuna's surrender. See, if we have a strong emotion and if somebody opposes our emotion, we actually don't like that person. Or we are like, we find fault in that person because we are really convinced that I am right. And here Arjuna is really convinced that what he is doing is the right thing. And Krishna says, how have these impurities come upon you? The common reaction of a man of ethic, of a like great Vaishnava like Arjuna. And somebody says, how have these impurities come upon you? The first thing that mind will present to a conditioned soul is this person is not understanding, or, you know, like he's not as, what do we say, as dharmic as I am, or like as righteous as I am, or he wants to go in the wrong path. Uh, but then we see Arjuna. Arjuna understood if Krishna is saying this, then I must surrender. Then he himself took a humble position and he says, Krishna, Krishna, I don't know what is right, what is wrong. I surrender to you, you guide me. So this is very important, especially in front of superiors and in front of our spiritual master, in front of Krishna, is that we are willing to take a role that, okay, I don't understand. Many times we end up in judging them also, but we don't see Krishna judging them. Krishna judging Krishna, Arjuna judging Krishna.
Hmm.
And actually, it is very difficult to do what we are really emotionally attached and convinced, and to do just the opposite.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and that's why Krishna chose Arjuna, because Arjuna is surrendered.
And so without that, the whole Bhagavad Gita isn't spoken, right? I think,
Yes.
I mean, that's really it's the reason Krishna speaks is because Arjuna asks him to, and says, "Okay, I'm surrendering to whatever it is that you want to teach me." So,
Uh, uh,
whatever it is. But if you miss that ingredient, you kind of miss the whole thing, the whole
mm,
lesson. I guess it's a greater, I mean, it can apply in many circumstances in life,
yeah.
right? If you're um what is it? If you, let's just say, I mean, you trust your own opinion
Uh,
to such an extent that you cut out all others, or you get that sense of everyone else is wrong, or that person's definitely wrong because they don't agree with me,
yeah.
whatever. The lesson just isn't gonna, it's sort of like it's right there. You just kind of have to, surrender that ego a little bit,
Yeah.
try to practice humility,
Mm,
and the lesson comes to you.
mm. But then there is another other side of the caveat of this is if he surrendered to those who are not qualified.
Ah.
And if we use this emotion to surrender to those who are not qualified, then it's like unstable boat in an ocean. It's gonna sink.
Mm.
And
Yeah. So you
um,
need a very
that's why,
trustworthy guide.
huh, that's why it's very important, even at the first, to test your own spiritual master. And actually, Arjuna tested Krishna also.
Oh.
Can you show me universal form? Oh.
Ah, yeah.
Can you tell me about your opulence? You are like this? Oh. So in this way, Arjuna is like testing Krishna. And then
Ah.
Krishna represents the answer. Arjuna says, but Krishna, how can you say that? So one thing is blind following is also not good. But then there is a willingness to surrender. And then when Arjuna was convinced, then he's like, all right. So it is said in the beginning, when you accept a spiritual master, it's okay to test by observation, by words, by in whichever way you want. But once you are convinced, then listen. But take your time. But then blind surrender is also going to lead us in the wrong direction.
Mm.
And that's what so many people are doing, and so many spiritual masters are there, and so many disciples are there. It's like the saying is, scripture says, blind following the blind in the name of spirituality also. So, especially Kali Yuga, very carefully tread the path.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, what a great point. Wow. I oh gosh. I don't think I'd heard it quite like that before, that like Krishna is testing, or sorry, that Arjuna is testing Krishna. And some of the things, so you're talking like chapter 10 and 11, the opulence of the supreme, and then in 11 Krishna so shows Arjuna the universal form. Um Gosh, that's so
See,
interesting. I mean, it really, I don't know, I like that a lot. Because I mean, I guess I have heard like if there's someone is a spiritual master, another person is a potential disciple, they do like they sort of, I don't know if I heard it described as that they test each other, but they certainly like they ask each other questions, or you know, they sort of get the feel for the other person. One
mm,
person, do I want to take this person on as a student?
mm,
The other
mm,
person, do I want this person to be my teacher?
mm.
Um,
Observe
yeah.
activities, words, and then see if their words, see the basis is what Krishna speaks. Like, authoritative, because something coming from the divine is authoritative. In a way, it's like pure, okay, out of question. है ना? Then observe, is their words matching what Krishna speaks? Like we have advanced study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, okay, is it like one on one? And do you see the qualities mentioned there in this person also? It is said it's okay to first challenge even the spiritual master, but in a humble mood. So Krishna does not challenge Krishna. He challenges Krishna, but in a humble mood. Krishna, can you please show me? Krishna, can you please tell me about this? Krishna, how do I understand this? So surrender does not mean you say you become a yes man and then you are like misdirected.
Mm,
But Prabhupada always says, why has Krishna given you intelligence? There is super soul within your heart. There is intelligence. Use it.
mm. Yeah. It's a great, I just thinking too, I mean, the only other thought I have, at least as far as that point goes, this is a story about a very spiritually advanced person who is speaking to God himself.
Huh.
And so this is like it's like the example for everybody else to try to use, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
um if Arjuna is actually going to question Krishna and test him, and do you really have this knowledge? Are you, can you really prove to me that I should really listen to you, you know?
Mhm.
It's sort of like, I guess, a lesson for all of us as well,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, that, it's okay to do that, but also, I mean, there's a real, you really have to balance,
Mhm.
um, it's like no one, if a good teacher is never going to ask you to give up your values or
Mhm.
to go against, it's sort of like your what you really know to be right or good. you know. They're
He
just not
will
going.
he will rectify and he will give reasons.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then if he is bona fide, it will convince you. And if you're not convinced, you counter question. And then he will give another reason. And then if you're still not convinced, take your time.
Hmm.
Absorb it, observe it,
Hmm.
and then you will see that actually it was right.
Yeah. Thank you, Broji.
Yeah. And I see Arjuna also does. Arjuna says, I surrender. He says, yes, I will do whatever you say. Then Krishna says something, but Krishna, that's what. And he surrendered. He wants to surrender, but again and again his mind is not letting him. And Krishna is, my dear Arjuna, oh, the great fighter. So Krishna is always glorifying Arjuna, if you see. And he is giving him very logical, convincing answers.
Mhm. Mm. So we talked about, I think the
Compassion.
first reason why Arjuna says he does not want to fight, which is compassion. Um, so what's another reason then, and what is Krishna's response?
So, bro, another reason is enjoyment. So the reason is Arjuna is thinking, if I fight, if I win the battle, I'll be the ruler, the administrative post for the whole earth. But I won't be happy because my loved ones are dead. Everything is gone. So
Mm,
when like the words used is the enjoyment will be tainted with the blood of my relatives.
mm,
So then there
yeah.
is no pleasure. Then why should I fight?
Mm. Yeah, and he adds to even though they might otherwise kill me.
Ah,
So independent of sort of what they're doing and what their intention is. Yeah.
so how
I
does
think
Krishna
that
refutes it?
yeah, even if they want to kill me, why would I do that? Yeah, there's um he says when all those for whom we may desire a kingdom, happiness, life itself, if they're arrayed on this battlefield, like
Mm,
those are the people who I want to enjoy the kingdom with anyway. So
mm,
if I get it, but they're not there, then what is the point of having
mm,
it?
mm. So what is how does Krishna refutes it?
How does Krishna refute it?
Krishna gives a higher principle. Krishna says, fight for the sake of fighting. Don't fight thinking of the positive or negative, the enjoyment or sorrow,
Mm.
the
It's not about the
gain,
reward.
victory or loss, gain or debt or whatever. You do it because it is your duty. You are you are a kshatriya, means it is your duty to fight. The protecting class. So a person of kshatriya means protector. So it is your duty to protect. This is your duty to do it. So you should do it. Don't deviate from it either because they are family members. So don't neglect your duty for doing that. Or and there is what will I gain? And how good gain is that for me to know? Do it because you are supposed to do it.
Mm, mm,
Many times we are very much motivated by the gains, and many times we're very much discouraged in our duty when the reciprocation or what we gain is not what we are looking for. And sometimes it may even impel us to give up our duties. So Krishna says, no, don't be attached to that.
mm. In a way, it's he's he's really telling Arjuna he doesn't have to worry so much. He doesn't. You don't have to worry so much about the future. You don't
Mm,
have to worry so much about what's going to happen or not happen,
mm,
what you're going to have or not have.
mm,
It's like again, you're just in this situation right now. This is just where you are. So
mm,
there's only one thing for you to do right now,
mm,
is to fight in this battle,
mm. Do your
and
duty. Yeah.
that's all you need to focus on. You
Mm,
don't, um, if you're only focusing on, what's going to happen and what am I going to get out of it,
mm,
and
mm,
what good result can I try to get out of the
mm,
situation,
mm,
then it's never going to lead to your own happiness. You're never going to
mm,
be satisfied with that.
mm,
And there is satisfaction in just
mm,
doing whatever that it's you could call it even a little responsibility.
mm,
It's
mm,
just the thing you have to do right now. If you just
mm,
focus on that, that's all you have to focus on.
mm, mm. Motivation should not be the gain. But if you see most of people in this world, the motivation behind anything they do is the gain itself. The gain comes first in the mind, and then the gain motivates what my duty should be to get to that. And then that's what motivates me, keeps me going. And that's exactly what we don't see Krishna is recommending. And that's exactly the behavior Arjuna is expressing. And that's what Krishna is rectifying. And one reason behind what Krishna further explains here is um, the gain is decided by Krishna. The result is decided by Krishna. And how do we practically live in that consciousness is we work as if we are attached to the gain also. We work as if we are attached. But then when the reciprocation or the result is not very favorable, then we see the hand of Krishna and we see that, oh, Krishna has another plan. This is not Krishna's plan. And then when it clicks, then we see that, oh, that was Krishna's plan. So we know where we want to get to. We know Krishna will help. And then we are just doing our duty to identify what Krishna's plan is. For example, Krishna showed to Arjuna, see, all these um, members are already killed by me. You just become my instrument. And Krishna says, even if you don't become my instrument, somebody else will. My will be executed anyways. This thing will be done. It's just if you become an instrument, you take the glory. Otherwise, you incur the sin for neglecting your own duties. But I'm gonna work through you. So you don't worry about what the gain will be. That's I have already decided. I know everything. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I know past, present, future. But me, no one knows. Nobody knows me, but I know everything.
And so
It's like match fixing.
it's like what?
Match fixing.
Mm.
You know match fixing?
Like for getting couples together? Is that what you mean?
No, match fixing is like, in India there is a game called cricket.
Oh, match fixing. Like okay, yeah.
So you are, I mean, the audience is thinking that they are going to see what the result will be, but result is already known.
Mm.
But they have a certain expectation, and so likewise, we are thinking like the match is fixed. What the result is decided by Krishna, anyways. Who is going to do what in your service and how things will happen? Match is fixed. Game is over.
The
But
battle's
we,
already done.
it's over. We are just thinking, we are going through emotions.
Mhm. So I guess Arjuna has to give up control or the thought that he's in control, right?
Very good. Yeah. Or things happened, the two negative sides, success, great, I did it. I nailed it down. Failure, I'm too bad, I'm useless, I'm good for nothing. I should just. So both are two faces of the same coin. These emotions are good for spiritual advancement. I'm not able to serve Krishna properly, then it is good. But it is not good for the result of the work.
Mhm. Why is it a good thing in spiritual life?
In spiritual life, because a devotee always thinks that he is not serving Krishna good enough. I'm not able to do anything for Krishna. I'm not able to make any spiritual progress. A very advanced devotee thinks that he has wasted his life because he never served Krishna. Because he never thinks that he is qualified to serve Krishna. He's trying, but he doesn't have any mercy of Krishna. But it is not from material gain perspective. Material gain is different. I'm doing my business and then I failed, and then my life is useless. So it is not based on material success, but it is based on spiritual advancement. Natural quality of a devotee is humility, which from spiritual perspective is um, um, I'm not qualified to serve Krishna properly. Krishna is just merciful.
Mm.
Or my heart is not pure. Somebody says, you have such a deep taste in chanting. No, Prabhu, I have no taste in chanting. So from that perspective, it is good.
So why does that show spiritual progress? Do you know what I'm asking? Like
Why does see one thing? Yeah, um, it is said that naturally, as a devotee makes progress, he realizes Krishna more. The more he realizes Krishna, the more he realizes how far he is from Krishna. The more he make progress, the more he realizes Krishna. The more he realize how small he is and how far he is.
mm,
So this humility natural comes that I can't make it. But in the beginning, because one doesn't have proper realization of Krishna, one thinks like I got it. Just got it. I nailed it down. I got it. And that's because there is no not full realization of who we are, who Krishna is, and where we stand. But as the relationship matures, as the understanding matures, as it reveals, then we understand actually no. What I was thinking. Like, sometimes we get into a project and we think, this is very easy, I'm gonna do it. And then once you get into it, then you feel like, oh no, it is a lot more than what I thought. And after 2 years, you're like, oh, what did I get into? Like it's so difficult. So likewise, Krishna consciousness also, Prabhu. Like it's just a thought and we feel, but then when you get into it, you realize that actually it's not so easy. And my heart is not so ready to be Krishna conscious, and there are a lot of things in my heart that I never realized there are. When we start actually working on ourselves, more and more things shows up within us. Oh no, this also there. So more we realize that we are far.
mm. So it's really just an admission of the truth that you didn't know before,
Yeah,
right? It's like I
yeah,
didn't realize,
exactly. Yeah,
but I actually used to think I was way more like ready to be spiritually
yeah,
realized, and then as I actually progress a little
yeah,
bit, it just shows me, oh, I'm actually not ready at all. I actually have a lot more to deal with than I
yeah.
thought.
So,
So, yeah.
yeah, you go from being an optimist to being a realist gradually.
Yeah.
Sometimes you become so realistic, you become pessimistic also. It is said that pessimistic view about, yeah, anyways. Third reason, correct?
Third reason.
So, third reason is fear of sinful reactions.
Hmm.
If I'm gonna kill them, then I'm gonna be covered by sins for killing. So, this is again, Krishna does not appreciate the reason because, again, applies to the first reason also. This reason is coming from um, where was this reason when you were fighting other battles? Is this the first time are you killing? So again, the weakness of the heart is bringing up into this reason, and Krishna turns it upside down, and Krishna says, "You don't incur sinful reaction for killing because you're doing your duty, and this is your dharma, but you get sinful reaction by not fighting because of neglecting your duties." So he switches it upside down and he refutes it.
Hmm.
Yes, you were saying something.
No, no, Proji. But yeah, I think just that Arjuna is, I guess whenever I talk about Bhagavad Gita, I feel like I always like I sort of take Arjuna's side. I think that it's maybe it's like it shows me where I am kind of, but it's just like I'm like Arjuna's making some good points. Like Arjuna's really he's got a good argument why he shouldn't be fighting. And it just I guess each time when I go over it, it just puts the whole thing into more perspective.
Uh,
um and how great of a lesson and an example this story is.
mm,
um and yeah, I mean it's like in the United States, we really value the people who are in the military. A lot
Mm.
of great respect and reverence is shown to people who fight for the country, for
Then
the
what if
warriors.
those
What's that?
people who are, what if the people who are fighting for the country in military, and after going there in the battlefield, they say, no, 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 I don't want to fight.
Mm,
So how will the officer see that person as? And he says, what about compassion? What about enjoyment? Even if we get that land, it's by the cost of killing so many soldiers. So no. So the officer will say, foolish are you talking? Correct? Otherwise we
mm,
give them award, right? This is
yeah.
exactly what Krishna is doing to them, to Arjuna. He's a military man.
Mm. Yeah, and I like that idea too. I mean, he flips it around and basically says if you don't do if you're worried about bad karma, if you're worried about getting a bad reaction, basically you're worried about that you're going to have to suffer in the future. If you
Mm,
do this,
mm,
the argument is I'm going to basically get bad karma,
mm,
and so I'm going to have to go through a lot of pain and suffering
mm.
later on
Still
because
selfish.
yeah. Um and so Christian's saying, well, actually, you're going to go through a lot of bad karma if you don't,
Uh-huh.
because this is your dharma, this is your path that you're
Uh-huh.
supposed to
Uh-huh.
follow. And
And I,
when you get a
yeah.
bad reaction, it's because you don't follow that.
Mm. And the higher principle than that is like way higher principle than, Krishna gives a principle. He's speaking to Arjuna and convincing Arjuna using Arjuna's own intellect. So he's ready to fight. But later on, Krishna gives a higher principle. He says, thinking about one suffering for the sake of my pleasure or my desire, it's still being selfish. We see that, you may have heard this story. It's a very high story that Krishna had a headache. And Krishna says, Narad Muni asks Krishna, how can we relieve you of your headache? Krishna says, I need the dust from my devotees' feet on my head. So can you give your dust? Narad Muni says, no, 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 no. I'm gonna go to hell if I give my dust on your. It's like putting my feet on your head. I cannot do that, my lord. You are worshipable. How can I do that? But then Krishna asked Krishna's beloved devotees. They are named by the name gopis. Narad Muni asked them. They gave the dust. Then Narad Muni says, are you guys, you are really illiterate cowherd girls? Do you know what the reaction is going to be for doing this? Then they said, yes, we are going to suffer, maybe forever, for doing this. But if we release Krishna's headache, then we are okay to do that. So this is very high state of consciousness there. But Arjuna is still thinking about what about the reaction that I'm going to get. But the higher is later on that Krishna says, okay, Krishna, what do you want? All right, I'll do it. You do it, but I'm gonna really put you under trial for doing this. What do you want me to do? I want you to do this, but I am gonna put you in trial. Oh, doesn't matter about the effect of it. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it. That is like pure surrender. So right now, Krishna is not speaking that in second chapter, but before he finishes his talk, he speaks about it.
Mm,
So it's like upgrading Arjuna's consciousness step by step, step by step. And both principles are right. In Krishna consciousness, many right principles, but we have to choose the principle according to our level. And then once we raise, you can choose a higher principle also, but there is gradations.
mm, mm. So it's sort of just about how far you can go
How far you can go,
wherever you are.
and we cannot copy somebody. Like
Mm,
very common example is if somebody is hurting me, what should I do? Two options: maintain distance so they don't hurt you. Another option, you love them anyways and you don't get hurt. Even if they're hurting you, you don't get hurt and you love them anyways. Second principle is higher, but we cannot do that. If somebody is hurting, so we say maintain distance. At least your consciousness won't be impacted. Why, if you try to copy, no, no, even if they hurt, I'll open my chest and I will not think bad about them. But your mind is not so pure. The mind will think. Correct, right? So
Yeah.
choose apply the principle according to where we are.
Mm. Mm. So we have three reasons that
We have
Arjuna
one more.
gives. We
Fourth
have
one.
the just to go over the three really quick. So compassion is one.
Compassion is one.
We just talked about sinful reaction,
Sinful
bad
reactions.
reaction, and what was the third one?
Enjoyment.
An enjoyment. He wants to enjoy the kingdom,
Like the
or
enjoy.
he
He
doesn't
won't
see
be
the
able to
enjoyment.
enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tainted by the blood of his relatives.
Mm. Okay. So what is the fourth reason then that
So
Arjuna
fourth
gives?
reason is the loss of family traditions.
Mm.
And I think you can speak on that.
The
Very
loss of family
complex, but you can
traditions.
simplify it. Magical words.
Sure. Um, well, I guess there's an obvious there's an obvious thing with the fact that the family itself is going to be lost if this battle is fought. And so, I guess, we've given, all these different reasons Arjuna doesn't want to, engage in battle with his family. Um,
Mm,
maybe the most sort of obvious one is that he doesn't want his family to be gone. I mean,
mm, mm.
um,
Yeah,
the Kuru dynasty,
yeah.
which is sort of what it was called, I guess, before it got split
Mm,
into the Pandavas and the Kauravas, the two
mm,
sides of this battle. It was just the Kuru dynasty, right?
mm,
And
mm,
it's a very, it's a very big, significant, powerful dynasty in this kingdom, and
mm,
I mean, they're very good rulers. The
mm,
Kuru dynasty has a very long history of being
mm,
wonderful rulers. Everybody
mm,
loves, they take care of everybody.
mm,
Um, and just creates a really, really sort of
mm,
idealistic kingdom.
mm,
And I guess there's so much pain, I guess, that Arjuna is feeling looking across, and it's sort of feeling like it feels like no matter what, this is all going to end. It just feel like we're all going to kill each other in this
mm,
battle, and so
mm,
the whole family is going to be gone. The dynasty is going to
mm,
be gone.
mm,
Um, and so I guess that's one of his lamentations, right?
Very nice. Also,
Um,
the elders play a very major role in maintaining traditions.
mm,
Grandfather, teachers, and all the elders are also going to be vanished. So just the generation who may not be very mature remains. And in that generation also, the gents will die. The ladies are widowed. All that remains is widowed ladies. And everything is gone. So, and usually the elders, they maintain the traditions.
yeah.
Because younger generation is under training, like little bit not that much mature. So now crumble down. And
Mm,
Arjuna doesn't want to see that. And
yeah.
again, it's his how Krishna refutes is it's again a family attachment. It's my dynasty. How many dynasties have been destroyed by you, sir, in the previous battles?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
Everything.
very different thing to think like if you're just watching if he was just watching another battle, those two sides are gonna fight and a big dynasty is
Yeah.
gonna end, there wouldn't be any kind of attachment. There wouldn't be like that pull towards it. But, it's his dynasty, it's his family.
Uh,
And I guess, this is maybe a second chapter lesson, but I mean it all comes back to identifying with the body,
uh,
with being identified with this
Becoming weak because of
position.
attachment.
Mm,
I have destroyed many dynasty when I fought. He is the best fighter. So obviously this is not the first fight he is doing. You cannot become a best fighter before even fighting a battle. You have to prove yourself to become a best fighter on the planet, correct? So he has won many battles in the past. Many dynasties he has destroyed. Many people he has killed. All the enjoyment was tainted with blood.
Mm.
Everything is all where was your compassion then? So Krishna begins and he nails down the reason. He says, give up the weakness of your heart. Your heart has become weak because of your attachment, and that's why these reasons are coming out. And by that one line, Arjuna says, he could not refute it actually. It is also said that when spiritual master, when Krishna says something, now goes right into the heart. So Arjuna was like convinced, but he doesn't have strength. He sees the point, but he can't do it. And that's what weakness of the heart is, when you know what is right and you can't do it. Become weak in front of our own attachments. And then Arjuna, when that happens, then surrender is what is needed. I'm not good enough. Then he says, can't do it, Krishna, please help me, enlighten me. Because one thing that requires is a mental strength. We always become weak here, na? And that results into action. And that requires either counseling or conviction. And that's what Krishna is speaking through Bhagavad Gita. He's giving Arjuna strength to do the right thing. And when he's strong here, it converts into action.
Mm. Yeah, very nice. And so that's where we're going to pick up with our next episode, right? Is
Yeah,
basically chapter 2, and we'll get through at least some of that chapter, but the lessons that
yeah,
Krishna starts teaching Arjuna to give him that conviction.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, since we discussed some of these points, we won't repeat these points from second chapter. We want to relate in the first chapter so that in the second chapter we don't have to bring back to each reasons with the verses, because we get lost in the verses. So we
Sure.
brought and combined it together. So we discuss the other themes that Krishna discusses. So we cover everything, but in a way that, yeah,
Yeah. Very nice. And yeah, this first chapter just ends with, basically Arjuna just kind of gives up. I guess like you're saying, he just sort of drops his bow, he kind of slumps down almost, you
yeah.
gotta really get this image. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I need you to try to tell me, I need you to tell me what I need to do
Yeah,
and why, because you know,
yeah.
and yeah, that's one of the hardest, it's one of the hardest parts, I think, at least for me. It's like admitting that I'm just confused and I just don't know what to do. And it's like I have to uh get away from having so much faith in my own mind.
This is very, very interesting point you brought up, Prabhu. See, usually this is the unsynchronization between my intellect and my heart. Usually, anybody who reads the first chapter, they are convinced Arjuna is right. Like you said, I tried to take side of Arjuna, but
Yeah.
then he's confused. He's speaking such convincing reason, and he's like, Krishna, I don't know. Now, sir, if your reasons are so convincing, why you don't know? That is an insynchronization between he's speaking, but he's convinced in his heart, no, no, no. And when Krishna speaks, then he's like, I surrender to you.
Mm. Yeah, it all
Krishna.
becomes clear.
So this is very nice. That itself shows that Arjuna is not convinced.
Mm.
So that itself shows that Krishna is right. Some people question Krishna. That why is Krishna encouraging Arjuna? Arjuna is all so right. When Arjuna is right, why is confused? And Krishna says one word, he's like, great. Another thing is also the spiritual master Krishna can one word he can refute all. It's like you do a clap and all the birds of doubts which are on the trees fly away. And now the bird is clear. The tree is clear. No more birds on the tree. Everybody just fly off. So likewise, all these birds of doubts are there in the mind. Don't know what to do, what to do. And that one clap of Krishna is like, ah.
Mm. Well, it makes me excited to keep talking about it, Prabhuji, and get to the other lessons of chapter 2.
Yeah, very nice.
Well, thank you, Prabhuji. Appreciate
Yeah.
your time and all of your all the things that you have to teach us here. Thank you for
It's a
doing this.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Always discussing Bhagavad Gita, we begin with, all right, what do we talk and how do we talk? When we get into it, we're like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah, there's always so many things to talk about. I know people always say that like the more you read a text like Bhagavad Gita, it just it never gets old. It never
Ah,
dries up the way a lot of
ah,
books or do. It's just you just kind of keep just kind of getting more, and then you read it
yeah.
again, you're like, wow, I see a little bit more.
Mm,
I feel like I can learn a little bit more.
mm.
And yeah, it's really true. It just sort of keeps
Yeah,
going.
he's
You can
going.
just keep getting more and more from it.
And then also sometimes people say, first chapter, yeah, I've read first chapter. I know what's in it. Then His Holiness Sadhanath Maharaj says, if you think you know, that's um that means that you haven't read it properly. So we see that. I mean, we have read it again. We feel like, oh, this is so nice. And again, next time again we discuss when we discuss first chapter again, like, oh, this is so nice. Something more will come up. So this is the nature of transcendental spiritual knowledge, always enlivening.
Mm. Well, with that, we'll end for this week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll
Yeah.
see you next
Thank you,
time.
everyone. See you next week. Bye for now.